conversations with 4 women that I wanted to tackle. Real conversations with my real friends about things that are important to me. Today's video is with Malliha Ahmad. She is one of my great friends. She's an overall creative. She has a nonprofit called Good Soup that tackles mental health for communities of color. She's co-owner in a space called Black Temple in Los Angeles, a holistic healing space for women of color. And she's just an overall dope person. Her and I both lived in New York at some point in our 20s, and we both found a rebirthing in that city that turned us into the women that we are today. And so this is a discussion on self-empowerment, finding yourself, and just standing in your power.
How would you describe yourself? I know how I describe you. I often tell people, I'm like, it's like if Lisa Bonet was a super strategic businesswoman. It's like Zen, but business. How would you describe yourself and what you do?
So I always strive to have the time that Erykah Badu has, because I just feel like she'd be editing all her videos.
Yeah.
She's performing. She has children.
She's somehow full-time mom.
Right. So
Style
I'm like,
queen.
okay, if Erykah can do it, then I can too.
Yeah.
Right. And I appreciate her eclectic, eccentric vibe, which I resonate with.
Yep.
And she's extremely artistic.
Okay.
And I'm very much that. I'm a weirdo. Well, a queerdo.
Okay.
A queerdo.
Hello.
And I just appreciate creating and building and connecting with people.
Were you always like that?
I was always like that, but it wasn't always supported.
Okay. Which takes me, I think, to New York. How long did you live in New York?
Close to 7 years.
Okay.
Yes.
See, New York, like, rebirthed me. It, like, turned me into my current self. It's, like, fostered this thing in you that you didn't always know you had, or what?
I think that New York is like a launch pad.
Okay.
For a lot of different things. It could be a launch pad for struggle.
It like shocks you. It shocks you on purpose. When I first moved to New York, I moved from here, from LA. I moved to New York, and at the time I was in a relationship. So it was like everything changed for me. So I know when you have spoken about New York, you speak about it in that way. So tell me, were you always like this? Did you see yourself in that way?
So I was born in Milwaukee.
Yep.
And Milwaukee is very conservative.
Yeah.
You're not seeing style. There's no fashion. So when I moved to New York, I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
When you're just really fresh, wild, ready. You know what I mean? And so with that, I was like, I want to challenge myself to do all of the things that I've never done before.
Yeah.
And to fully embrace it. It's a mecca for art.
Yeah.
It's a mecca for culture. There's so much inspiration. It's a vortex of just inspiration.
Yes.
Energy.
Yeah.
That's where I really found myself. And that's also where I struggled the most. You know, from getting kicked out of apartments to bed bugs to losing all your belongings to relationships to, of course, partying hard to having a stint of getting married and divorced, and also being homeless in New York has definitely stamped my heart with, okay, this is home.
How did you not come out of that tainted? Or like, or are you? I mean, if you are, you wear it well. Because that's the thing that I think about when New York, as I had probably some of my more negative experiences, but I feel my most positive about that city. So like listening to you, I'm like, how did you not feel jaded?
New York is like that abusive relationship.
Yeah.
This is probably the worst analogy, but I'm gonna go with it.
Disclaimer, we don't support this.
We don't support this. I'm just gonna use it as an analogy where it's like you're in it and you're like, oh, this is so great, it's so passionate, and you feed me with all these things, but you're so bad for me. You know what I mean? But then you keep going back and going back. Because I moved for a year.
Oh, wow.
And then I went back. I don't know, I have this cord with New York.
That's how I feel.
And I mean, she chewed me up, spit me out, chewed me back up again, spit me back out. But for some reason, I kind of like that tough love. because it shaped who I am today as a woman, how I view things.
Did you grow up with tough love?
I did.
Okay.
Definitely. So maybe that's just synonymous with how I rock.
I still, every single year on my vision board, put pictures of New York. So I'm still desperate to be back there. And I'm like hoping to go back with like lots of money and not go back just as like, here I am, a woman. And that's why I think the universe won't give it to me. Because they're like,
hilarious.
that's not how this works. New York ain't like that. You go to New York hard. So technically then you always were this Maliha. Were you always out? Were you out when you were in Milwaukee?
No.
Okay.
For me, it was never anything of like, do I need to make this grandiose statement of like, I'm out.
Yeah.
This is what I'm doing sexually. I'm doing a woman. You know what I mean? If anyone in my family asked, I would be honest.
Yeah.
But I also think that sometimes people don't ask because they don't want to know the answer. For years, when I was younger, I kind of stayed in that pocket of, you can just assume what you want, but if you ask me, I'll tell you. But in New York, it was just kind of like, I got to the point where I was just like telling my mom, so yeah, I'm in an open relationship with a woman, and then we just had this experience, and she's like, oh, so... But it wasn't this thing of like, hey, I'm coming out.
It's not like you came to your mom to say, hey, so I think, I'm not sure. Like, you're more so telling her this is just what it is.
Right.
And her reaction doesn't really matter.
Exactly.
So were you just like that in general?
No. So I think that was something that happened just me coming into myself in my early 20s, because that wasn't something that was nurtured,
Yeah.
you know, as a child.
Yeah.
And when I kind of broke from that and cut the umbilical cord, it was one of those things for me where I was like, well, I don't need to explain.
Yeah.
Because I'm different and not everybody is going to understand me. I'm not going to be able to appease anyone anymore because that's actually not my job. It's to make anyone comfortable.
Yeah.
If you are uncomfortable about my lifestyle or any of my choices, then that's something that you need to look at.
Yeah.
If I'm triggering you in some way, there's maybe room for you to grow. And if you choose to grow, that's on you. And if you choose not to, that's on you.
Yeah.
It still doesn't have anything to do with me.
Mm-hmm. It's not like you have this light bulb moment, but it's just like, next thing you know, this is how you communicate with the world. I just think you, without realizing it, that's what you represent to me. Like you are very much authentically yourself.
Thank you.
When I knew that I was going to get to talk to you, that's all I was curious about, was like, were you always like this? Did you become this way? Did you, like, what led you? Essentially what you're saying is New York led you.
New York, and then just the drive to want to heal and be different.
Okay.
And I think for me, it was more so taking back my power. You know, my childhood was very powerless.
Okay.
So taking back my power was something that was very empowering.
Yeah.
Something that felt amazing. And New York was something that provided me with that.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, the city doesn't sleep. You're able to do so much in a day. So much diversity.
Yeah, it also like doesn't really care about your pity party.
Right.
It's
Because
like
everybody's
going through something. Like every single person here is going through something. I did this play when I was in New York, and by the time I got to the audition, I was just so frustrated and over it. There's like, I don't even know if there was an actual crying scene or if I just started crying. And then they were like, whoa. I was like, I don't think I've ever acted like that in my entire life. I'm like, I don't even know if I'm this caliber of an actress or if I'm just this stressed out. Anyway, naturally, they're like, must do our play. So I was like, oh, and I was like, this is New York. You can have the most stressful time. And then they're like, put it into your art. Do something with this. You're good. Use that. Yeah, it gave me training that my life didn't set me up for. What was the biggest lesson of your 20s?
Of my 20s, to really stand in my power and not ask for permission. And I guess that encompasses like, I don't have a problem saying no. Yeah. I don't have a problem creating boundaries.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem being direct.
Did something happen before you got to that understanding or to that knowing of yourself?
Not necessarily. I've always been super direct.
Okay.
Because I come from a very direct family.
Yep.
I think the thing that shifted is the no part, and the standing in myself situation. That shifted.
Okay.
That became more prominent.
Yeah.
And it just felt fucking amazing.
Yeah. No, I get that. This has been lovely chatting with you. This has been so lovely.
I've had so much fun.
I knew that we
Always
would
do.
talk about New York and standing in our power and becoming who we are. If people wanted to find you, where would they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Malliha, Malliha.
Okay. And Good Soup? No?
Yeah, and there's Good Soup, GUUDSOUP.
Okay.
Good Soup.
If they want to come to an event at Black
There's
Temple.
Black Temple.
All right, so I'm the plug. There we go.
BLK Temple.
Okay.
We're just gonna keep it at
No, this is good.
those three.
This is good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to Maliha for being so open and transparent and just sharing her journey with us. And also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with any of your friends who you think may like it. Bye, guys.